The unfolding situation in the Middle East is marked by a series of complex developments that are sowing new seeds of uncertainty in the ongoing Iran conflict. On one hand, there are subtle signs of possible diplomatic progress, while on the other, a growing air of pessimism is creeping into Washington's corridors of power. Recently, a brief yet significant message was posted on X by Iran's embassy in South Africa. This message, which declared that the preconditions have been accepted, is being interpreted as a potential indicator that Iran's long-standing demands for negotiations have been acknowledged. These demands have consistently centered around halting Israeli strikes in Lebanon, a condition that remains only partially met as Israeli operations continue, albeit at a reduced intensity compared to earlier engagements. The disparity between Iran's declared conditions and the ongoing military actions is a critical point of contention. Iran has repeatedly linked any broader ceasefire, or negotiation framework to developments in Lebanon. While Israel and the United States maintain that Lebanon falls outside the core agreement, this gap could allow Iran to argue that its conditions have not truly been met, regardless of the diplomatic signals that are emerging. Meanwhile, the United States is grappling with its own set of concerns. According to reports, President Donald Trump has expressed skepticism about the prospect of reopening the Strait of Hormuz in the near term. This reflects a prevailing doubt within the White House about the possibility of quickly stabilizing the situation. The Strait of Hormuz is a critical artery for global energy flows, and its continued disruption underscores the economic pressure points that will remain active even if negotiations make headway. With diplomatic signals emerging, they are being tested immediately by actions on the ground. The situation creates an uneasy calm, a temporary lull before potential further escalations. Yes. Pity weeks of relentless bombardment, Iran still holds a significant arsenal of ballistic missiles which remain hidden deep underground. According to American intelligence assessments, the battlefield damage inflicted on Iran is severe, but far from decisive. What might appear as a crippled arsenal could in fact be a sleeping giant buried beneath mountains and fortified bunkers. The United States is now racing against time to cement a fragile ceasefire that would secure the Strait of Hormuz, while simultaneously trying to prevent another escalation that could drag the entire region back into chaos. Beneath the surface of diplomatic optimism lies a far more dangerous truth. Intelligence reports indicate that although Iran's missile capabilities have been degraded, they are not eliminated. In warfare, survival often outweighs sheer strength. More than half of Iran's missile launchers have reportedly been compromised, either destroyed, damaged, or trapped underground by sustained U.S. and Israeli airstrikes. However, many of these systems are not permanently lost. They are simply buried, concealed, and potentially recoverable. Officials have warned that these launchers, hidden within vast underground complexes, could be dug out, repaired, and brought back into operation, effectively restoring a significant portion of Iran's strike capability. Iran's missile inventory, though reduced, still includes thousands of ballistic missiles, with more than 1,000 medium-range systems capable of striking targets across the region. Despite heavy losses, Iran retains enough firepower to sustain a prolonged conflict or launch a sudden high-impact offensive if negotiations collapse. This growing concern is echoed inside Washington, where some American officials fear that Iran may use this temporary pause in fighting to rebuild, reorganize, and prepare for the next phase of confrontation. In a public statement, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth boldly claimed that Iran's missile program is functionally destroyed, describing it as depleted and nearly ineffective. However, intelligence assessments present a more complex and troubling picture. The military operation, codenamed Epic Fury, rendering it combat ineffective for the foreseeable future. The operation demonstrated the formidable power of the U.S. military, with Central Command CENTCOM using less than 10% of America's total combat power to dismantle one of the world's largest militaries. The U.S., alongside Israeli partners, achieved its objectives with precision and efficiency. Iran's Navy has suffered catastrophic losses, with its vessels, including the Soleimani-class and prize drone aircraft carriers, now lying at the bottom of the sea. Its Air Force has been wiped out, and Iran no longer possesses a comprehensive air defense system. The skies over Iran are now under the dominion of U.S. and Israeli forces, yet behind closed doors, analysts acknowledge that Iran's military infrastructure, though battered, remains resilient, adaptable, and capable of regeneration. Iran's strategy appears to have relied heavily on survival through concealment, with missile systems buried deep inside mountainous terrain, making them extremely difficult to destroy through airstrikes alone. In many instances, Israeli operations focus not on destroying these underground bases entirely, but on sealing their exit tunnels, effectively trapping launchers inside. However, trapped does not mean destroyed. Those launchers can be recovered, and once operational, can return to the battlefield with potentially devastating consequences. even during the height of the conflict, Israeli officials admitted that they were unable to completely neutralize Iran's missile capabilities. Instead, they managed to reduce Iran's firing rate to between 10 and 15 missiles per day, a significant drop from the dozens launched daily during the early stages of the war. But that reduction came at a massive cost, with the United States reportedly dropping more than 13,000 munitions targeting missile sites, drone facilities, naval assets, and Iran's broader defense industry. The scale of this operation is unprecedented, yet it has not delivered total elimination of the threat. The situation in the Middle East is currently marked by a complex and evolving set of dynamics that are reshaping the contours of the Iran conflict. On one side, there are subtle indications of potential diplomatic movements, while on the other, a growing sense of pessimism is taking hold within Washington's political landscape. Recently, a brief but significant message was posted on the social media platform X by Iran's embassy in South Africa. This message declared that the preconditions have been accepted. The statement is being interpreted as a potential acknowledgement of Iran's long-standing demands for negotiations. These demands have consistently focused on the cessation of Israeli strikes in Leb, a condition that as of now remains only partially fulfilled. While Israeli operations continue, they are occurring at a reduced intensity compared to earlier engagements. The disparity between Iran's declared conditions and the ongoing military actions remains a critical point of contention. Iran has repeatedly linked any broader ceasefire or negotiation framework to developments in Lebanon. In contrast, Israel and the United States maintain that Lebanon is outside the core agreement. This gap could allow Iran to argue that its conditions have not truly been met, regardless of the emerging diplomatic signals. Meanwhile, the United States is contending with its own set of concerns. According to reports from Reuters, President Donald Trump has expressed skepticism about the prospect of reopening the Strait of Hormuz in the near term. This reflects a prevailing doubt within the White House about the possibility of quickly stabilizing the situation. The Strait of Hormuz is a critical artery for global energy flows, and its continued disruption underscores the economic pressure points that will remain active even if negotiations make progress. While diplomatic signals are emerging, they are being immediately tested by actions on the ground. This situation creates an uneasy calm, a temporary lull before potential further escalations. Even as ceasefire talks intensify, a chilling reality is emerging from the shadows of war. Despite weeks of relentless bombardment, Iran still holds thousands of ballistic missiles hidden deep underground, waiting to be potentially unleashed at a moment's notice. According to American intelligence assessments, the battlefield damage inflicted on Iran may be severe, but it is far from decisive. What appears to be a crippled arsenal could in fact be a sleeping giant buried beneath mountains and fortified bunkers. The United States is now racing against time to cement a fragile ceasefire that would secure the Strait of Hormuz, while Lee simultaneously trying to prevent another escalation that could drag the entire region back into chaos. Beneath the surface of diplomatic optimism lies a far more dangerous truth. Intelligence reports indicate that although Iran's missile capabilities have been degraded, they have not been eliminated, and in war, survival often matters more than sheer strength. More than half of Iran's missile launchers have reportedly been destroyed, damaged, or trapped underground by sustained U.S. and Israeli airstrikes. Yet many of these systems are not permanently lost. They are simply buried, concealed, and potentially recoverable. Officials have warned that these launchers, hidden within vast underground complexes, could be excavated, repaired, and brought back into operation, effectively restoring a significant portion of Iran's strike capability. At the same time, Iran's missile inventory has been cut roughly in half. However, even this reduced arsenal still includes thousands of ballistic missiles, including more than 1,000 medium-range systems capable of striking targets across the region. This means that despite heavy losses, Iran retains enough firepower to sustain a prolonged conflict or launch a sudden high-impact offensive if negotiations collapse. And here lies the growing concern inside Washington. Some American officials fear that Iran may use this temporary pause in fighting not to step back, but to rebuild, reorganize, and prepare for the next phase of confrontation. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has publicly claimed that Iran's missile program is functionally destroyed, describing it as depleted and nearly ineffective. However, intelligence assessments paint a far more complex and troubling picture. By any measure, the Operation Epic Fury decimated Iran's military and rendered it combat ineffective for years to come. In less than 40 days, one of the United States' combatant commands, Central Command, CENTCOM, using less than 10% of America's total combat power, dismantled one of the world's largest militaries. Despite these achievements, analysts acknowledge behind closed doors that Iran's military infrastructure, though battered, remains resilient, adaptable, and capable of regeneration. Iran's strategy appears to have relied heavily on survival through concealment, with missile systems buried deep inside mountainous terrain, making them extremely difficult to destroy through airstrikes alone. In many cases, Israeli operations focus not on destroying these underground bases entirely, but on sealing their exit tunnels, effectively trapping launchers inside. However, trapped does not mean destroyed. Those launchers can be recovered, and once operational, they can return to the battlefield with devastating consequences. Even during the conflict's height, Israeli officials admitted they were unable to completely neutralize Iran's missile capabilities. Instead, they managed to reduce Iran's firing rate to between 10 and 15 missiles per day, a significant drop from the dozens launched daily during the war's early stages. But that reduction came at a massive cost, with the United States reportedly dropping more than 13,000 munitions targeting missile sites, drone facilities, naval assets, and Iran's broader defense industry. The scale is unprecedented, yet it has not delivered total elimination. Iran's drone fleet has also suffered heavy losses, with officials estimating that Tehran now has well under half of its original inventory of one-way attack drones. However, even here, the threat is not fully neutralized. There are growing concerns that Iran could turn to external partners, particularly Russia, to replenish its drone capabilities and maintain pressure on its adversaries. Additionally, Iran still retains a limited number of cruise missiles that could be deployed against strategic targets, such as ships in the Persian Gulf or U.S. forces operating in the region. These weapons, though fewer in number, are highly precise, and could be used in targeted escalation scenarios if diplomacy fails. For now, American analysts do not expect Iran to rapidly rebuild its pre-war arsenal, especially given the extensive damage inflicted on its defense production facilities. However, they also warn against underestimating Tehran's ability to adapt. Iran has repeatedly demonstrated resilience in the face of sustained pressure, and its military doctrine is built around endurance, concealment, and asymmetric retaliation. Israeli officials estimate that around two-thirds of Iran's ballistic missile launchers are currently out of commission, but they also acknowledge that many of these systems could be recovered from underground sites. And perhaps most alarming is this: Iran still possesses more than 1,000 medium-range ballistic missiles, a force that remains capable of reshaping the battlefield overnight. The future of this conflict now hinges not just on diplomacy, but on time, because every day that passes without resolution is a day that Iran could use to rebuild, reposition, and prepare for the next phase. And if that happens, the next phase of this war may not begin with warning signs or gradual escalation. It could begin with a sudden surge of missiles rising from the shadows, reminding the world that in modern warfare, what survives is often more dangerous than what is destroyed.